Ed Kerr.
And welcome to Cloud Talk Live. That's right. Welcome back to another episode of Cloud Talk Live, everyone. My name is Jeff DeVerter, Chief Technology Evangelist for us here at Rackspace Technology. Bring up all the lower thirds. Welcome to another episode. I'm back home. I've spent like 5 weeks on the road at different conferences or customer events or channel events, and I'm so glad to be back here where I can control things and I didn't have to carry it in. So you know the routine, everyone. I'd love for you to introduce yourselves. Tell us who you are, tell us where you are, and join the conversation. Also, if you want to get a hold of us, you know the routine. You can send us an email at solve@rackspace.com. Now, I say you all know the routine, but folks, we've got a new audience who's joined in and through the VMware group that's here today, and I would love for you guys to introduce yourselves. If you're coming in from that channel, well, go ahead and say hi. We'd love for you to join the conversation. We're not here just to talk at you. We're here to talk with you. And as such, you got to introduce yourself so we can address you by name, so we can take your questions and your comments. And feel free, if you have any thoughts about the program, to send them to solve@rackspace.com. All right, look at everybody coming in here. Lagos, Nigeria is back. You guys are coming in a lot lately. India is here. Arizona is here. Who I just saw Denver, I think, Bangladesh. Oh, you're going to impress my guests this morning, folks, with the amount of geography that's showing up here today. So glad that you're here. Consulting and government. Well, you're going to love this one because we're going to talk about all things from VMware Explore. Now, a reminder. The audio from these events shows up in our podcast stream, and there's lots of original other content that shows up there. Just had a great conversation with one of our customers, and that episode hopefully will show up on Thursday. But it'll only show up if you subscribe, so go wherever you find your podcasts and subscribe to Cloud Talk. Yeah, Cloud Talk. I was going to say Cloud Talk Live, but that's not it, because this is Cloud Talk Live. All right, we are here today to talk about, wait for it, VMware Explore. It was really a pretty amazing event just a few weeks ago out in Las Vegas. And I've got some experts here to go over some of those announcements. Now, you can see here, if you've never been to an event out in Las Vegas, this is what it's like walking through the hallways of the Sands Expo Hall Event Center, heading out into the event center where all of the different vendors, including us, were out there. Pretty excited about it. If we weren't there, we were in any of the sessions learning what was going on, and then ultimately bringing all of that information back so we could share it with you. And we're excited to get to do this. Now, while we were there, taking notes, getting all ready to go, because we wanted to have all of the information for you and be ready to go. All right, I'm going to take one more little pause and see who else has joined in. We've got Dubai is here. We've got, we got a Racker from India. I love that. Bharat is here. Maybe the first time for Bharat to show up. Thank you. Welcome to the program. And it looks like when I click away, the video stops. But it was on Janine, and we love Janine. And all right, well, with that, everyone, let's get into our program here today. And I've got a couple of guests who are going to share their thoughts on VMware Explore. And the first is, well, he's from VMware, but his last stop was over at Rackspace. Here at Rackspace, we have a phrase, and that's once a racker, always a racker. That's what we call ourselves, rackers. And but Ken is here. Ken Lamoreaux is here. He is Director of Technical Product Management over at VMware. He works with service providers, not unlike Rackspace. But before that, he was here helping build out private clouds. Before that, he was in Anchorage, Alaska, doing all kinds of fancy technical things as well. So in just a second, I'd love for you to welcome Ken to the program. But also, we have Edward Kerr. Now, Ed and I get to work together here on a near daily basis, but not nearly enough. And I'm glad that Ed is here. He helps look out after all the things we're doing in private cloud. So he's got some strong opinions and likes and dislikes as well. And yes, you are right, Manjusha. VMware is growing lately. There has been some incredible announcements and movements in that space. And with that introduction, you've done a great job for us. Why don't we go ahead and bring the guests up on stage and get into our conversation. Let's get Ken up here. Ken and Edward, welcome to the program, gentlemen.
Good to be here.
Thanks for having us, Jeff.
So, Ken, I want to start with you here, if we could, and you I hate to say you're filling in for someone who had a medical emergency. So you signed up to join this just yesterday. Did you have any idea when you woke up this morning you'd be talking to the whole world?
I had no idea.
You had no idea. It's crazy who's going to show up around here, but we're so excited that they do. We even have Esther from Dallas. Glad you are here, Esther. If you guys have any questions about VMware Explorer or even VMware at large, well, I've got the experts here. So put them in your little comments or chat, wherever it would be down there below it. And Brazil is here as well. And Ed, this is not your first rodeo around here either, but welcome back to the program.
Thank you. Had a little bit more runway than Ken did, so let's see if I can perform.
All right. Well, since you had so much extra time to prepare, let's start with you. What
Yeah.
got your attention at VMware Explorer? I'm going to put you right into the hot seat.
Yeah, I think what caught my attention was and not because it wasn't obvious, like AI is prolific, it's everywhere. But I thought the thoughtfulness that VMware had around its strategy and the way that it was creating kind of standards and protocols that would make AI more cost effective down the line, I thought that was pretty impressive, and kind of thought leadership around that was also a big focus.
Yeah, and I love the partnership, even with having NVIDIA there. And I mean, there's some amazing stuff going on. And I think that there's a big misnomer that is out there in the world, and that is that AI is really only for the hyperscale clouds. We hear about it in ChatGPT, we hear about it in Bard and others, a little Bing chat as well. But Ken, let's chat for a second about the importance of AI when paired with private clouds and why that matters.
Yeah, it's definitely an important topic at VMware. We're really concerned about delivering to our customers the ability to leverage this emerging technology, but in a responsible way. Right now, we've got a lot of publicly available tools like ChatGPT and Bard and others, but putting your internal data into systems like that to try to leverage them, not necessarily the best idea. So having an option to run AI in a private cloud allows our customers to take their proprietary data and information, but leverage it through AI models. And so that's just a really powerful tool.
It is a powerful tool. And while you've got the mic, I just saw a question pop up. Somebody said, and it really takes us back even to the fundamentals. And I think it's a great place for us to probably should have started. And that is, why VMware? I mean, in this world of all of the hyperscale clouds and all of the stuff that's out there, why VMware?
Well, really, it's about running your workloads and your data in the place that makes the most sense for it. So there's definitely use cases for public cloud, and that's why VMware has embraced multi-cloud. But there are definitely needs around privacy and locality that make VMware environments a really ideal place to run certain workloads, whether they're containerized or AI GPU enabled workloads, either within private data centers or even at the edge.
Yeah, good reasons. Ed, over to you. Same question. Why VMware? Why does a private cloud still matter?
So starting with why VMware, because VMware creates a story around taking cloud chaos and making it mean something, right? And that's what Ken's kind of hinting at. So whether we're talking about the capabilities of NSX Plus and the creation of VPCs that allow networking to kind of be abstracted across all clouds, or if we're talking about creating standards and protocols around AI, I think VMware has answers to where can I put my workloads where I want them to be, or am I stuck putting them where everyone says I should be? And VMware gives an answer to that. And I think that's a really important question that needs answering in the marketplace, period.
Yeah, so that's actually a pretty powerful statement you just made around, can I put them where they should, put my workloads where they should be? What are some of those defining factors of where workloads really should run, and why does it matter? Ken, let's go to you for that.
So one of the areas that VMware has focused on is really around regulatory concerns and compliance. And so that's why you saw us kick off our VMware Sovereign Cloud a couple of years ago. And that's to make sure that customers have the ability to run their workloads and store their data in environments and locales where they don't have to worry about the influence or regulations of other nations on their data and getting access to it. So that can be very similar even within like the AI world, where you don't want to necessarily post all of your data up into a system that's going to then leverage it for many other customers. You want to keep that privacy and segregation of your information, and that's where your proprietary secret sauce is in your data and what you've put together, and you don't want to just necessarily throw it out there for everyone to consume.
Yeah, makes good sense. Ed, anything you'd add to that?
Yeah, actually, I think there was a question in chat that I think is important to address. Somebody saying like you could do these things on a cloud server as an example, and that is true. But what's different about what VMware's approach is that they don't force you into any one ecosystem. So they're not saying like, hey, I can do this for sure. You could do it on AWS, but you could do it a little bit on AWS, or you could do it on GCP, or you could do it in your own data center, and we'll make it possible for all of those things to connect seamlessly. That's what VMware is doing that other companies are still trying to figure out their answer for, or even that the cloud native providers don't really want to answer, right? Because they'd rather you stay in that ecosystem.
Yeah. All right. So we could have this debate and go into all the details of why it makes a whole lot of sense kind of all day long. But really our point here today is to get into some of the advancements that are happening and were announced over at VMware Explore. And not just why that matters for us today, but really, Ed, to use the phrase you used earlier, is then kind of forecast where's that puck going? Where can we really take our technology in the future? So, Ed, what caught your attention?
Yeah, I guess sticking with the AI conversation, because I think we all feel like we're about to experience something completely unexpected in this world, and AI is the root of that. AI is a really powerful technology. You've heard me hint at it earlier that there's a cost problem. So right now, if you want to just have a conversation with the Joker, like, hey, AI, pretend you're the Joker and I'm Batman, you could do that, but it's going to cost tens of thousands of gallons of water, bunch of electricity, bunch of CPU. It's like, is AI the answer to all of our problems? If you want to role play, isn't it just cheaper to grab your friend and set up like a conversation and say, hey, you're the Joker, I'm Batman, right? Like, so we need to have an understanding of where AI should and shouldn't play. And I think when we're talking about where the puck is going in terms of AI, I think people are going to start looking very soon, not just how do I adopt AI, but how do I adopt it intelligently? What are the problems it can solve, and what are the problems it should solve, which are two different groups of things.
Yeah, it's a really, really good point. I would also, like to dig into a little bit deeper around, where VMware is taking this multi-cloud experience. Because while we are talking about all of the reasons why VMware is a great solution for a lot of different types of workloads, you guys really are looking at it through the lens of multi-cloud. We're not saying one is better than the other, but the point is really around the fact that to use them all together. So Ken, there were some announcements around how to better modernize and optimize and protect this multi-cloud enterprise experience. Maybe you can dig into a little bit of that.
Yeah, being in VMware's cloud provider partner program, where we work with a community of partners like Rackspace, one of the things I was really focused on is the announcements and advancements in our partner program, specifically the VMware Cross Cloud Managed Services program. And a key aspect of that is the VMware Cloud Editions that were launched. And that means that customers can really experience this multi-cloud environment in any place they need to run workloads, either on-prem, in the cloud with the VMware clouds on the hyperscalers, or with this very large and very capable set of key provider partners like Rackspace that can run the same VMware cloud environments, and bringing all of those environments together in a seamless way that allows customers to place their workload the place it needs to be, that it should be, that gives them the best value.
Very good. Very good. Ed, how does that really fit into the day in the life, and even thinking again where that puck is going?
Yeah, I think when you're talking about like abstracting away this decision about where workloads live and whatnot, and the value that VMware brings, one of the main complications that customers will often wrestle with is how they handle their networking. And so when you look at the offers around NSX Plus and the way that VMware is taking that, I find it quite interesting, because whereas before you might have need to have people who are AWS specific, dealing with network over there, and then you've got your private cloud folks over here, and everybody's attacking the same problem from different angles. You now have an opportunity to create a VPC in NSX Plus that can be used on every single cloud in the same way, and then you can deploy that much more simply. And so you're now kind of step by step removing those barriers. So when we're talking about where the puck is going, I think that's the kind of outcomes that customers will increasingly more expect, which is not just can you create connectivity in my environment, but can you do it in a way that doesn't require me to stand up individual teams with specific expertise every single time you do it.
Right, right. So there's a great question that just popped in around security and best practices around how to secure a VMware cloud. But let's think about it in the context of things that were announced. If one of the things that caught my attention on the announcement side was ransomware remediation. It doesn't matter how tight you make some of these things because the bad guys are still bad guying, and they will find a way. So ransomware recovery, faster recovery from ransomware, there's some pretty cool announcements in and around how to do that in active environments as well as in storage and the like. So, Ken, what happened there?
Yeah, ransomware recovery has been an important point of concern for VMware. Like you said, all technologies are constantly trying to keep up with different vulnerabilities and attack vectors. So a key aspect of being able to recover from that is having a plan, having a method to get your workload back in a good, secure state and then restored back to your production environment. So having a clear path and an easy path for our customers is really important. And so that's why you see VMware continuing to iterate on ransomware recovery options. And not only doing that for VMware private cloud customers, but we're also working on that with our provider community to make sure that our providers can offer really performant ransomware recovery solutions for their customers on the VMware platform.
So isolated recovery environments, they've acronymed up, Ed, what we're using to recover some of these things. So maybe unpack that a little bit about how those are utilized in the context of recovery.
I'm sorry, that was for me, Jeff?
Yeah. It's part of that whole announcement around their ransomware stuff.
Yeah. So in general, their ransomware announcements, I think, had two kind of interesting points. One is the applications around fileless attacks. Like there's a new kind of wave of attacks that are overtaking the market. And now we've got the opportunity to analyze the behavior and then solve those things in a way that we previously couldn't have done. And I think also our ability to provide like solutions that recover quickly from ransomware attacks, thus kind of protecting business continuity, are two areas that I see real applications for some of the announcements.
Very cool. Also, when we think about the multi-cloud, we talked about it a little bit earlier around how, we're helping to orchestrate in a VMware context these multi-cloud environments. One of the areas that we don't oftentimes think about that needs orchestrated as well is the edge. And I think the edge becomes a great use case to talk about when we're thinking about where VMware fits into an overall enterprise architecture. So there were some announcements around orchestrations there. Ken, maybe you can help unpack that. And also, you mentioned that you work a lot. You've mentioned a couple times in the partner community, helping service providers like a Rackspace help to implement this. I guess I'm really going to throw a question in front of that one, and that is, why in 2023, why do partners still matter? Why are companies not doing all of this themselves?
Really, it has to do with the complexity of the technology that's being used. It's really hard to get talent across so many different companies globally that are trying to implement some of these new technologies. So having a trusted partner like Rackspace that can develop that key talent, retain that key talent, and then can be in that advisory capacity to help companies implement it, that's really a key aspect of VMware making our customers successful through our partners. And so when we look at Edge, Edge has been a really interesting thing to watch because what we're seeing with our partner community is we see telcos moving into Edge, but also our provider partners moving into Edge. So we're starting to get some overlap in this area because it's at the edge. And so there's some telcos that are like trying to get into, well, let's place some compute out there. But we've also got our providers that have been giving customers data center space all over the world. And they're starting to look at, well, how small can I get some data center space and how far out into the edge can I manage services? So this is a really interesting overlap here. But in all cases, what we're seeing is that when you're starting to work at the edge, you don't have these very specific environments that you're just sort of taking care of and nurturing for years as those workloads are working away and accomplishing their tasks. At the edge, what we're seeing is because it's small, you may end up with thousands of endpoints at the edge.
Yeah.
And oftentimes the workload that's running there, it needs to be disposable. It needs to be able to be iterated and redeployed and refreshed very easily and seamlessly. And it needs to be highly reliable because it may be running in manufacturing environments or healthcare environments. And so this is really a key thing, to have an edge solution that's very manageable, but very stable and easy to implement through partners like Rackspace.
Yeah, I think when we talk about complexity of environments, it goes hand in hand with edge, because I think your point is well taken, because those edge locations could literally measure in the thousands. Think of retail, think of convenience stores, think of a million different examples. Ed, in fact, over to you, because when you and I have talked over the years, in fact, we used to create these quarterly, what are the buzzwords, what matters, what doesn't matter. There were a few things that when we think about, when we were thinking like 2 and 3 years ago, what of all of the buzzwords really matter right now? And Edge was one of those that didn't, because the use cases weren't clear, and the technology to be able to implement them at scale was challenging. But now we see more and more of it. What are some of those use cases, Ed, that you're seeing in the Edge space?
Yeah. So first, like, the problems that Edge is trying to solve that need to be solved in the Edge space is Edge service management, things like retail engagement, and then connectivity issues. So that kind of leads us to your point about retail. So if I'm a retail store and I'm trying to manage end user engagement within my stores, or even loss prevention, solutions at the edge make a lot of sense, because at the end of the day, what is Edge really trying to solve? It's a physics problem.
Yeah.
It really is. That's all it boils down to. It's like data needs to be close and compute needs to be close to the nature of the problem, because over time, attenuation and data loss occur and performance issues occur. And when those things can't be allowed to happen, and you need to be able to get information and act quickly, then solutions at the edge are required. But to Ken's point, let's use retail as an example. If I have a store today at 1234 Broadway Street, it's a possibility that I need to have a store tomorrow at 225 Broadway Street because they shut down that building.
Yeah.
So I can't have this heavy technology stack that can't be moved easily. I need to be able to pick it up easily, or just tear it down and just buy a new solution there. And those are the nature of the problems and the kinds of use cases that I think will really define success in the edge space.
Yeah, so folks, hopefully you're picking up on the fact that when we talk about a VMware-based solution, we are not saying, hey, all of your stuff needs to or should run in a VMware environment in one data center in one part of the world. But we're saying, to reiterate one more time, it is part of a larger, very complex computing environment, and sometimes that gets really challenging. I will say that we have some great information on that over here at Rackspace, and Daniel's going to pop up a little QR code that will take you to more information about a review that we can help with. If you'd like to go check that out more, feel free to scan the little QR code. The link has also been placed in the chat, so feel free to grab that as well. Now, while that's up on screen, and we'll leave that there for a minute, Ken, I want to go back to you because we are getting close to the top of the hour, and I know we all have meetings that are showing up there. But what was one more thing that caught your attention at VMware Explore? There were so many announcements, but what was another one that caught your attention?
So another one that really got my attention was vSAN Max. I started working with vSAN when I was at Rackspace, and it's just been a very interesting technology to look at the HCI platforms and the capabilities around storage integrated in compute platforms. And seeing the progress that the vSAN team has made. Recently, they announced the vSAN enhanced storage architecture, which just really blew away on the performance side. And because they've been working on disaggregated storage options and solutions, then that just really led naturally to this new announcement around vSAN Max. Really just such a capable solution now. It's really just a prescriptive configuration solution of vSAN ESA. And following that specification, then it enables customers and even providers to adopt vSAN as just a primary storage solution across many environments.
Very good. Again, flexibility, which creates complexity all around, in this case, specifically storage. So that is one more piece of the complexity, isn't it, Ed, where it's not just where does the whole thing go, where do the pieces go, and then the pieces of the pieces, compute, storage, networking,
Yeah.
where does all that fit into? Ed, I'm going to give you that as well. What was maybe one last thing you want to talk about from VMware Explore?
I think what really kind of caught my attention was the completeness of the message. So Ken talked about vSAN Max. We hinted at NSX Plus earlier. There was also vSpheres Plus. There wasn't a part of the VMware ecosystem that didn't get that kind of cloud makeover for 2023. There wasn't some part of the VMware ecosystem that I felt was like left behind, whether that was Tanzu or vSphere Plus or NSX. It felt like everything was getting that kind of makeover. And I thought that to me was kind of what stood out at VMware Explore, was that kind of overhaul that all worked together to create what, again, VMware calls their answer to cloud chaos, being cloud smart. And that's really what kind of caught me by surprise, was the completeness of that message.
Excellent. All right. Well, we're going to pop that QR code back up one more time. If anybody wants a little help with their VMware environment, I know a little company called Rackspace would love to give you a little free consulting to figure that stuff out. We got an offer we're doing in conjunction with VMware. And so feel free to take advantage of that. We would love to. All right, so I've got some other news as we start to close up here, folks. So Ken and Ed, thank you so much for being a part of the program today. And we'll be back at, when there's more announcements. But let's get into some of these other quick announcements that I have for you. And that is, folks, you know that every quarter we do a big research project here as part of our Solve program. That's our thought leadership program. Well, Cybersecurity Awareness Month here in the U.S. is in October. We do all things cyber. And in fact, our research paper that will be coming out will be all about the state of things in cyber and what's going on there. And we have our Cybersecurity Summit. We do not have a placard to come up yet, but you have your Outlook or your Gmail or Workspaces, whatever we call it these days. Make a note, on October 24th, at 10 a.m. Central Time, we will have our next Solve Summit. And I've got some incredible guests who have agreed to be a part of it. We got an amazing woman from the Microsoft security side. We also have a couple of folks who, Nikki and Chris, who I work with a bunch in this context, and they've agreed to be a part of the program. They've got a live stream and a podcast they do every Friday morning here on LinkedIn. They're in their 5th season. Incredible stuff. So Chris Hughes and Nikki Robinson, she is Cybersecurity Woman of the Year, awarded at Black Hat. So that's pretty amazing stuff. So set your reminders for that event. We'll also, of course, be back next week, next Tuesday, 8:30 a.m. Central Time, with a guest whose name I don't remember. But if you will watch, you will see them pop up in LinkedIn. If you're not already following all of the good people you've seen here, make sure that you do. We would love for you to be around and know when we're going to be live. So my huge thanks out to Ken and to Ed for being a part of the program today. VMware, thank you for your partnership. We've done some incredible things over the years, and we're just getting started. Everyone, I hope you have an amazing day. That is going to do it for us here at Cloud Talk Live for another week. Don't forget to go out and subscribe to the podcast. Don't forget to follow me over on LinkedIn. I'd love to be friends. All right, everybody, have an amazing rest of your day.